Did you want an ironclad agreement or a golden parachute? That was Veridiya's standard question whenever the executive team finalized a contract. Today, it was neither. Today it was steel trap clauses and backup copies of everything. She stood in the center of the gleaming Nexus Tower conference room, designer blazer pushed up to her elbows, her midnight black hair twisted into the kind of braid that screamed, "I've been awake since Thursday and I've weaponized my insomnia." Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. On the curved holographic display before her, the master service agreement glowed like a battle plan, indemnity clauses, exclusive service provisions, embedded performance metrics, contingency triggers, and failsafe mechanisms she'd engineered into every pixel, every damned footnote of legalese. She'd crafted it all, every contractual strand in this corporate spiderweb, and now it was 14 days from renewal. Kaylin Zarantha's contracted project deliverables were set to commence on Friday, an exclusive software integration for Quantum Financial's global trading platform, a custom AI analytics suite, and a surprise reveal at the Singapore Tech Summit. The logistics were airtight. You could bounce a platinum coin off the redundancies she'd built into the project timeline. 10 years of corporate legal warfare had sculpted Veridiya Khorasani into the kind of woman who made chaos bow down and beg for mercy. For once, everything was syncing perfectly. Everything except Tariq. The new CEO had just wrapped a holographic conference with the venture capital syndicate, still sipping from his pretentious Damascus steel tumbler as he sauntered into her carefully orchestrated war room. 36 years old, all European business school polish and zero actual accomplishments. VC darling parachuted in from a failed blockchain healthcare startup with enough buzzwords to asphyxiate a TED audience. Veridiya, he beamed, spreading his arms like he'd invented oxygen. Just connected with the Obelisk Partners Consortium. They're absolutely thrilled with what we're putting together. Couldn't stop praising the integration architecture. She nodded once, still tracking compliance metrics on her quantum tablet. Good to hear. If they're satisfied, we're on trajectory. He smiled wider than sincerity allowed. Of course, much of that groundwork was laid before my arrival. Those 7 years of foundation building, we're fortunate to have had your expertise. During the scaling phase. She didn't flinch, but she registered it like the atmospheric pressure drop before a tsunami. The word hung between them, past tense where present belonged. He continued smoothly, it's just, you understand, when examining our operational burn rate projections and leadership overhead. I mean, the executive compensation structure has some significant redundancies. Her eyes never left the holographic display, yet she was the reason their legal compliance rating outperformed Nextars by 17 percentage points. She'd single-handedly secured the exclusivity clause that locked Quantum Financial into a 3-year renewal cycle. I'd start by eliminating the platinum-tier executive retreat packages, she muttered, almost to herself. Tariq pretended not to hear. She pretended not to envision his career in flames. Here's what Veridiya knew that Tariq didn't. Kaylin Zarantha wasn't just a service provider. She and Kaylin had attended Kyoto Technological Institute together, sharing midnight cramming sessions and graduation champagne. She knew the code architecture that powered his first breakthrough algorithm. She'd attended his daughter's naming ceremony. Hell, his chief security officer had once proposed to her at the Antarctic research base where they'd both volunteered. Kaylin didn't see Quantum Financial as just another client milestone, he saw them as Veridiya's professional home. Tariq thought Kaylin was a replaceable technology vendor. Veridiya knew he'd incinerate contracts worth billions if she whispered the right request. But she didn't reveal her hand. Not yet. Keep me updated on any integration risk factors. Tariq clapped his hands, pivoting toward the door. Otherwise, let's maintain momentum. We're 14 days from making financial technology history. He departed without awaiting a response. She remained alone in her contractual cathedral, eyes scanning the renewal timeline that had suddenly become a ticking bomb. Behind her, one of the junior legal analysts entered quietly. Zephyrin, she said carefully. Fresh from the Shanghai Institute of International Contract Law and still running on enthusiasm and imported Yunnan coffee. Veridiya, I just wanted to say this entire framework is extraordinary. You make negotiating multi-billion-dollar service agreements look effortless. Veridiya glanced up, and for a moment, the titanium edges of her professional armor softened. Kid, she said, reaching for her custom-etched glass water bottle, it only appears effortless because I've already bled for every syllable in that document. As she returned her attention to the display, reviewing the final integration schedules, security parameters, and contractual deliverables, she sensed it again. Not panic, not dread, something more calculated, more surgical. the primal instinct of a woman who recognized she was being stalked by corporate predators, and the faintest scent of betrayal was beginning to permeate the recirculated air. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The chair in Human Resources was molded bioplastic and tilted slightly when Veridiya sat down. No one had offered her premium sparkling water. No one said good morning. Just a sealed doorway and a rehearsed expression from Alara in HR, a woman who once sobbed uncontrollably during the company Winterfest karaoke but now regarded Veridiya with the emotional investment of someone processing a parking validation. Tarek was already seated, no custom-tailored jacket, just a temperature-regulating neo-silk shirt and the confidence reserved exclusively for men who've never encountered the word insufficient in their professional lives. Veridiya, he said, as though her name was the opening line to a congratulatory speech. Thank you for joining us on such short notice. She raised one perfectly sculpted eyebrow. Your message indicated an urgent compliance matter. I assumed perhaps legal had accidentally hired a quantum hacker in the blockchain division. Alara released a single nervous laugh. Tarek didn't. He interlaced his fingers and leaned forward in the posture men adopt when they believe sustained. Eye contact constitutes authority. I'll be straightforward. This isn't about your performance. You've been beyond exemplary. Her diaphragm contracted. Her spine remained titanium. We're restructuring our leadership architecture, he continued, to optimize agility post-integration. The board has been pressurizing us to streamline human capital allocation. That means eliminating redundant senior positions. Redundant. Not invaluable. Not irreplaceable. Not the woman who had single-handedly constructed the legal fortress that protected their entire financial ecosystem while Tarek was still pitching blockchain solutions to problems that didn't exist. No, just redundant. Effective immediately, Alara interjected like a programmed notification in a corporate horror simulation. Your employment will be terminated on grounds of positional redundancy. You'll receive 26 weeks of severance compensation and continued premium medical coverage through Q4. There's a confidentiality agreement attached to the separation package. We'll require your biometric access credentials and quantum encryption keys. Tarek offered her a smile like he was generously covering an unexpected dinner check. We remain immensely appreciative. This integration milestone, none of it would have materialized without your legal brilliance. But with Kalen's framework locked in and the renewal trigger automated, we're confident this vessel navigates forward regardless. A vast, echoing silence followed. Veridiya examined the man who had just dismantled her career with a thank you note and a spreadsheet projection. She contemplated the 8 years invested in constructing the master service agreement architecture. The sleepless nights negotiating compliance parameters with international regulatory bodies. The relentless attention to contractual minutiae that protected the company from predatory competitors. The 22 hidden clauses she'd embedded that nobody else had ever discovered. She considered how Kalen had only signed the exclusivity addendum because of their personal history and her impeccable reputation. Tarek thought Kalen was contractually bound. He didn't understand the human architecture beneath the legal framework. Still, Veridiya didn't react. Didn't protest. Didn't blink more than was biologically necessary. She extracted her quantum access card from her designer handbag, placed it deliberately on the table, then withdrew a second item, a crystalline data key, unlabeled, and positioned it beside the card like a chess opening move. What's this? Alara inquired. Veridiya smiled with surgical precision. Annotated renewal contingencies. Alternative execution parameters. Enforcement protocol Omega. Tarek appeared momentarily disoriented, then nodded with fabricated comprehension. He didn't understand. He couldn't. Any concluding inquiries? Alara asked, already generating the termination documentation like a prison administrator processing a release form. Veridiya rose unhurriedly, fastened her blazer, and gave Tarek one final assessment. Extended, frigid, and clinically exact. No questions, she said, but perhaps review section 17. 3C6 of the Master Service Agreement again. Then she departed, one elegant box in her arms containing her custom obsidian fountain pen, a holographic award reading Legal Architect of the Decade, and her quantum tablet wiped clean of corporate data. Not before she'd transferred the complete renewal contingency parameters to her personal secure cloud. The journey from Human Resources to the Levitation Transport Hub was silent. No ceremonial farewell, no speeches, just occasional glances from colleagues uncertain whether to acknowledge her or pretend fascination with the nearest wall panel. She didn't register their existence. She activated her autonomous vehicle, placed the box on the passenger gravitation field, and gazed through the transparent ceiling for a full minute. Then she selected Kalen's contact and initiated a secure call. He answered before the second connection tone. Very, his voice calm but concerned. What's happening? Your biometric signature just disappeared from the Nexus security grid. They terminated me, she said, without preamble. Classified me as redundant overhead. Silence stretched between them, then a low, incredulous exhalation. Are they, what, the actual void? I warned you about Tarek. He's all holographic presence. And zero substance. He thinks because he secured my signature, he controls the integration architecture. Kalen didn't continue immediately. Then, you want me to activate the contingency protocol? She stared through the transparent ceiling at the megacity skyline, the autonomous transportation lanes glowing like digital constellations against the evening smog. Not yet, she said softly. But don't respond to their communication attempts. Already blacklisted their entire domain. A microscopic smile flickered across her features, and for the first time that day, Veridiya permitted herself a genuine breath. Not of resignation, of precision. The container on the passenger gravitation field shifted slightly as the vehicle banked toward the residential district. Inside, a holographic achievement recognition from the Global Contract Law Association. A half-consumed package of migraine nanobots, and her custom mug inscribed with, I have a clause for that, in iridescent quantum lettering. Everything else she'd abandoned. Let them keep the ergonomic hovering chair, the color-coded legal frameworks, the voice-activated research assistant that still responded to her Mandarin commands. She didn't mourn their loss. Instead, she navigated in silence, the atmospheric hum of the transportation corridor like a distant heartbeat in her consciousness. Her hands remained steady, her neurological responses, less so. By the time she reached the exclusive Sky Gardens observation deck outside the Metropolitan Center, the atmosphere had folded itself into deepening twilight. Veridiya directed her vehicle to her preferred location, a secluded crystalline platform where the quantum network barely penetrated and nobody objected if you screamed into the stratosphere. She didn't. She simply deactivated the vehicle's atmospheric shield, activated the emergency synth tobacco capsule she maintained in the storage compartment for apocalyptic scenarios, and reconnected with Kalen. He responded halfway through the first connection tone. Please tell me you're contacting me from a tropical island sanctuary where the only concern is quantum coconut allergies. No, she replied, voice measured, synth tobacco vapor spiraling from her lips. Terminated. Redundancy was the official designation. She could hear him breathing, envisioned him pacing in his penthouse laboratory, probably wearing those ridiculous hovering slippers that made him resemble a retired quantum boxer at an orbital resort. What, just like that? Human resources. Tarek. Standard termination script. Stated I was redundant with Kalen's errand locked in, we'll be fine. Kalen didn't laugh. He didn't curse. He seethed. You architected that entire master service agreement, he said, voice low and razor-edged. Hell, you practically constructed that company's legal foundation. And this venture capital imposter thinks he can eject you like corrupted code? Veridiya didn't respond. I told you, Kalen continued, that man always struck me as a counterfeit quantum processor, impressive exterior, zero computational integrity. Well, now he controls the integration timeline, she said, inhaling another breath of synthetic calm. You want me to publicly terminate the agreement? I'll do it this microsecond. One quantum announcement and Tarek's stock options evaporate. She pictured his finger hovering over the global announcement platform. One communication from Kalen and the financial commentary feeds would consume Tarek alive. Institutional investors would be initiating emergency communications during their sleep cycles. But Veridiya wasn't pursuing chaos. Not yet. No, she said. We wait. Wait for what? For them to recognize what they've lost. A pause, then a smile audible in Kalen's voice. Divine Nebula, I admire when you shift into this mode. Strategic and surgical, like a quantum assassin in business attire. She released synthetic vapor into the evening atmosphere. I possess the complete integration blueprint, the compliance triggers, I understand every vulnerability in that agreement better than anyone. If I wanted to terminate it instantly, I could. But they'd immediately identify me as the catalyst. Kalen's voice descended to a conspiratorial whisper. So don't terminate it. Let it self-destruct. She smiled, bitter yet clarified. Precisely. You want me to instruct the other integration partners to postpone participation? Yes, discreetly. No formal announcements, no antagonism, just silence. That, Kalen said, I can orchestrate effortlessly. They maintained connection for several additional minutes, not communicating extensively, simply existing in the shared space of betrayal, allowing it to process. Veridiya observed her manicured fingernails, stress-fractured at the edges, her reflection in the vehicle's navigation display. She didn't appear broken. She appeared awakened. Hey, Kalen said finally. For whatever significance it holds, you're the exclusive reason I ever agreed to the integration. Not them, not the technology platform, not the compensation package. You. I know. Silence again, but warmer now, less jagged. She terminated the connection, extinguished the synth tobacco capsule on the platform's edge, and reactivated her vehicle's propulsion system. Back to the Metropolitan Center. Back to the quantum network. She didn't require revenge. She needed precision. She needed silence. She needed time. And above everything, she needed them to never anticipate her approach. The initial ripple manifested at 7:48 on a Tuesday, a singular announcement from Kalen Zarantha's official communication channel, published without promotional indicators or corporate hashtags. No affiliated enterprise, no integration branding, just luminescent text against a minimalist background. Fascinating how professional integrity functions until profit margin enters the equation. 9 words. No context. Within 45 minutes, the global network was ablaze. Kalen's 22 million followers launched into full conspiracy analysis. Was he referencing his previous quantum research team? A regulatory body? An integration partnership gone sideways? Discussion threads materialized, deconstructing the precise timestamp. A virtual influencer remixed the announcement with visual commentary and the caption, "Y'all realize his major integration launches next week, correct?" That alone accumulated 750,000 engagements before midday. At 8:56, someone excavated an archival holograph of Veridiya and Kalen at the Quantum Humanitarian Awards ceremony, him in traditional formal attire, her in a midnight blue quantum fabric ensemble, laughing like battle-scarred veterans who'd just navigated a legal minefield. Didn't she function at the same corporation as his new integration partner, one analyst posted. By 9:30, the whispers had developed teeth. Veridiya observed from her residential sanctuary, legs folded beneath her, a glass of rare Martian wine in one hand, her secure communication device in the other. Not smiling, not gloating, analyzing. The corporation's initial response materialized at 10:47, a colorless social announcement from their public relations division with bland text that proclaimed, "We are honored to collaborate with visionary independent innovators like Kalen Zaranth. We support our partners. #TransparencyInTech. Tone deaf. It read like it was generated by a committee that had forgotten how authentic human communication functioned. 8 minutes later, they deleted it. 12 minutes after that, they reposted a revised version attempting to redirect the narrative. "We appreciate Kalen. We're focused on Integration Week. All synergy, zero drama." It collapsed spectacularly. Commentary sections flooded with serpent holographs and popcorn animations. Meanwhile, Veridiya sat cross-legged in comfortable loungewear, scrolling and archiving everything, every panic-infused announcement, every edited communication, every technology influencer who suddenly ceased tagging the corporation in their content streams. She wasn't orchestrating anything actively. But she didn't need to. Silence was the strategy, and silence was beginning to resonate with deafening clarity. At 12:23, she received a quantum message from a former colleague, Nixura, a nervous but well-intentioned mid-level compliance manager, who color-coordinated legal provisions and experienced emotional breakdowns during quarterly evaluations. "Veridiya, what's happening? Did Kalen terminate the integration?" They canceled the 1400 hours implementation alignment session. Veridiya didn't respond. She accessed a private folder in her secure cloud storage labeled Integration Pulse v3 and uploaded the newest evidence. Then she set her communication device aside and savored a prolonged sip of Martian wine. By 1400 hours, a technology analysis platform published an article titled, "Did Kalen Zaranth just cryptically reference his own integration partner?" By 1500 hours, institutional investors initiated inquiries. By 1600 hours, Veridiya's personal communication channel received a message from a mid-tier technology journalist she'd once confidentially briefed during a security vulnerability disclosure in 2022. Subject: confidential inquiry, anything you might share? She didn't reply, but she didn't delete it either. Instead, she activated her holographic workstation, navigated through the integration contingency backups she'd exported before her biometric credentials deactivated. She examined the schedules: Tuesday preliminary announcement, Wednesday technology partner wave, Thursday live demonstration. All remained intact. All depended on Kalin and his innovation ecosystem. The CEO didn't comprehend that technological innovation wasn't merely an algorithm. It was a pulse, a pattern of trust, momentum, and synchronization. You can't force loyalty with contractual language. You earn it through respect, and you lose it by executing a precision strike against the wrong architect. And Tariq remained oblivious. At 1837, she activated her wine recommendation platform and rated the Martian vintage, pairs exquisitely with corporate implosion. She deactivated notifications and retired to her sleep chamber, not from exhaustion, but because she recognized the genuine unraveling had yet to commence. By Monday morning, the Integration Control Center emitted the distinct aroma of executive desperation. The holographic projectors still generated their pristine displays, the interactive whiteboards still showcased Veridiya's meticulous legal annotations, but the symphony, the pulse she'd tuned that environment to perform like a priceless quantum violin, had vanished. Coordination sessions initiated behind schedule. Implementation deadlines drifted past unacknowledged. Someone misspelled indemnification in the preliminary announcement, and nobody identified the error until the chief designer's nephew tagged the corporation in a virtual reality comment asking, "You functioning correctly?" Veridiya's position was technically occupied now, by 3 individuals actually. Tariq had fragmented her responsibilities between a compliance director from Brussels who believed the term integration referred exclusively to documentation formulas, a 34-year-old with technology partnership experience who once orchestrated an aggressive neural marketing campaign for synthetic protein supplements, and a junior legal counsel fresh from school. All 3 floundered magnificently, drowning in complexity, and the rescue vessel had been incinerated the moment Tariq smiled and presented Veridiya with a termination package. At 9:15, the social media coordinator messaged the integration team, "Verification required, should we still distribute the Tuesday announcement with Kalin's endorsement quote? The sentiment appears misaligned currently." Nobody responded. At 10:08, the first technology partner withdrew from the cross-integration promotion. At 10:36, a second partner indefinitely postponed. By midday, the quantum communication channel titled #Integration Momentum had been redesignated #General Implementation Questions, and the only content published there all day was a confused intern inquiring whether the demonstration dress protocol remained innovative business casual or had shifted to standard corporate. Meanwhile, Veridiya occupied a private capsule at an exclusive tea sanctuary 2 transit stops from corporate headquarters, savoring a rare Himalayan white tea and monitoring everything unfold on her private feeds, not the public interfaces. The PR facade accessed, but the authentic ones, private communication groups, encrypted virtual reality chambers, whispered technology influencer threads where everyone compared contractual obligations and implementation timelines, repeatedly asking one question: did Kalin terminate the integration? While no one answered publicly, Kalin had already transmitted a discreet message to the 12 key technology partners: maintain position. Trust my guidance. Withhold announcements this cycle. And they complied, not because he financially compensated them, but because they trusted him, because Veridiya had taught them how. At 22:17, Veridiya's communication device activated. "Zephyrin, former colleague, I swear by the quantum void, this organization is disintegrating without your architecture. We're conducting coordination sessions to prepare for the preparation coordination sessions. Tariq just announced we should synchronize our innovation velocity matrices. I believe I experienced temporary consciousness failure." She smiled, not broadly, not malevolently, just the kind of smile you form when the spacecraft that jettisoned you mid-trajectory begins experiencing critical systems failures and you suddenly recall you still possess the emergency override codes. The landing coordinates recognized your quantum signature. At 14:19, the new integration coordinator accidentally distributed a communication intended for internal public relations, a crisis response scenario draft mistakenly quantum copied, to a distribution list that included 3 technology analysts, 1 finance editor, and an architectural critic. Subject line: if Kalin withdraws, pivot to secondary integration assets, minimize Veridiya's contractual legacy, emphasize vision architecture. It required precisely 2 minutes for a screenshot to materialize on the global network. By 15:05, the image had accumulated 14,000 engagements and a response ratio worse than a political scandal during election season. Tariq responded predictably with an announcement on the professional quantum network: authentic innovation necessitates bold strategic realignments. We're constructing a future, not a comfort paradigm. Remain connected, transformative integration cycle imminent. Beneath the announcement, the commentary developed barbs. Did Veridiya architect that future you just terminated? Fascinating how the comfort paradigm delivered measurable outcomes. Defined bold, alienate your entire integration ecosystem? By 1700 hours, Tarek restricted his profile, deleted the announcement, but the cascade had already initiated, because chaos, once unleashed, doesn't request entry permission. It disintegrates the access barriers and begins reconfiguring the fundamental architecture. And Veridiya, she continued savoring premium tea, continued archiving evidence, continued allowing gravitational forces to complete their natural function. The integration wasn't terminated yet, but it had begun emitting distinctive entropic indicators. The executive atrium smelled like genetically modified jasmine and concentrated privilege, not the emerging wealth variety, but established privilege. Seasoned with generational patents and titanium-clad confidentiality agreements. Veridiya navigated through the revolving transparent entry portals of Helix Quantum Financial Headquarters in a tailored graphene overcoat, visual enhancement lenses still activated though the atmospheric conditions outside had transformed to molten amber. No announcement, no administrative assistant, just her presence and a 2-minute biometric verification before the gravitational elevator transported her to the 51st level, where the sound absorption carpeting eliminated footsteps, the refreshments. Incorporated molecularly structured dairy alternatives by default, and no one dared utilize the term synergy. Awaiting her arrival in the executive conference chamber, Lysandra Vex, Senior Vice President of Strategic Acquisitions for Helix Quantum, and Hyperion Thorne, their legendarily intimidating chief legal architect who once dismantled a trillion-unit contract over a misplaced quantum encryption key. Veridiya didn't hesitate. She simply removed her overcoat, positioned her quantum device face down on the holographic surface, and activated her secure data crystal. What I'm about to demonstrate, she said, isn't sabotage. It's simply gravity. All I'm doing is allowing a fundamentally compromised integration to collapse under its own bloated architecture. If you're prepared to intercept what remains, now's the critical decision point. Lysandra leaned forward. Proceed with disclosure. What followed was 24 minutes of controlled deconstruction. Veridiya displayed the complete integration architecture, their integration architecture. She elucidated the misdirected technology partner strategy, the time-sensitive dependencies. Already unraveling, vulnerabilities Tarek had generated by assuming loyalty could be contractually mandated rather than professionally earned. Then she activated her holographic workstation and revealed the projected market implications Kaelin had helped her formulate, not endorsements, not guarantees, just potential. Lysandra and Hyperion exchanged a glance, the kind that confirmed 3 certainties without verbalizing them. They'd already detected disruption indicators. They were already circling the opportunity. They had just identified their strategic spearhead. If Kaelin redirects his integration to us, Lysandra said carefully, we require more than simply his technological framework. We want the narrative. The aftermath, we want to control the redemption trajectory. Veridiya raised an eyebrow. Then permit me to compose it. They smiled. By the time she departed that office, her graphene overcoat draped casually over her arm, she possessed a preliminary contractual offer, consulting initially, with equity participation, with operational autonomy, with complete access to an integration. Budget triple what Tarek had eliminated during her final quarter. A quantum phoenix fund constructed to rise from someone else's ashes. Outside the building, her communication device activated. Kaelin, all silent on my interface. Recommend I suggest something yet? She paused beneath the wind-sculpted entrance. Canopy, observing the atmospheric formations rolling low across the metropolitan skyline. Veridiya, not yet. Allow Tarek respiratory function. Let him believe the disturbance has subsided. She waited. Kaelin's response materialized with an animated, winking expression. Kaelin, you're delightfully merciless. I respect it immensely. That afternoon, Tarek published again, another performative corporate manifesto on the professional quantum network, saturated with arrogant optimism. When we streamline for innovation acceleration, we invite transitional friction. But friction ultimately polishes the quantum gem. Proud of this team for advancing forward. Remain connected for the most ambitious integration yet. Veridiya reviewed it on her holographic workstation while incorporating citrus into her premium tea. Then calmly, deliberately, she activated the engagement function. The commentary already eviscerated him beneath the inspirational platitude. A former intern wrote, cannot polish quantum waste, Tarek. Veridiya was the architectural foundation. The engagement metrics accelerated. She deactivated her workstation. By evening, her scheduling system overflowed: investor dinner engagements, confidentiality briefings, strategic whisper campaigns beginning to agitate the waters without ever mentioning her designation. All Veridiya needed to do was advance. At precisely the right moment, and every observer would be anticipating the silhouette behind the quantum curtain. She poured a glass of premium refreshment, not Martian wine this time, lunar champagne, just a single crystal flute. And she consumed it to silence. The kind of silence that exclusively materializes before a quantum detonation. By Wednesday, the silence had transformed into an entity unto itself, looming, spectral, resonating beneath every corporate quantum communication ping like a warning system with its power source removed. There should have been a crescendo. With implementation day 3 rotations away, the corporation's social interfaces should have been volcanic: preliminary announcements, countdowns, technology influencer enthusiasm cascades, holographic anticipation, graphics proliferating like quantum confetti. Instead, the timeline resembled an abandoned lunar landing site at 3 o'clock, empty, under-illuminated, vaguely ominous. Veridiya navigated through their interactive quantum stream from habit, savoring black coffee at the corner enclosure of a culinary establishment where nobody recognized her designation. 3 announcements in 48 hours, all of them colorless, all of them ignored. She wasn't actively doing anything. She didn't need to. The strategy now was quantum subtraction: remove momentum, and observe the remainder decay in real time. Tarek, maintaining his public relations delusion, had approved one final sequence of pre-scheduled announcements, an awkward, behind-the-integration, holographic clip featuring exactly 0 individuals the quantum network cared about, and an animated celebration that refused to render correctly on mobile interfaces, cropping the corporation's designation down to just "confi," which felt appropriate. But Veridiya wasn't monitoring them. She was observing the absence of others. The technology influencers' abandoned content streams remained frozen: no tags, no hashtags, not even passive references in interactive stories. Kalen had instructed them to wait, and they were waiting. Like loyal quantum soldiers in a conflict they didn't fully comprehend. And then arrived the catalyst. At 16:08, Kalen published a cryptic announcement across all his platforms: black background, white text, elegant simplicity. This cycle was designated for transformation. It still will be, just not according to their architectural design. That was it. No tags, no hyperlinks, just those words. It detonated within 18 minutes. Speculation thundered across discussion platforms like a quantum stampede. The global network generated conspiracy analysis threads faster than anyone could process. Was he launching a new quantum project? Was he terminating the corporate integration? Was it confrontational, accidental, intentional? The corporation's social coordinator attempted to neutralize the frenzy by publishing a grainy archival holograph of Kalen in company attire with the caption, "Still synchronized. We value our integration partners." It received catastrophic backlash. The commentary section consumed it instantly. Why does this read like hostage negotiation content? Did Veridiya quantum script Kalen's announcement because this radiates surgical precision? Still synchronized with what exactly? Obsolescence? Internally, panic began to permeate the corridors. By 1800 hours, the integration team conducted an emergency quantum session titled Kalen Communication Strategy Alignment. Someone forgot to activate privacy mode and said, "I feel like I'm witnessing a quantum collision in slow motion." Outside that structure, on the 27th level of a competing headquarters, Veridiya occupied a sleek transparent office, observing a muted live quantum stream of a financial analysis program where one of Tarek's institutional investors nervously stated, "Let's just acknowledge we're reassessing our exposure pending Thursday's reception." She deactivated audio and accessed her communication device. 7 unread messages from technology journalists. Quantum Chronicle, can we discuss confidentially regarding the Kalen situation? Digital Frontier, heard you're no longer with the organization. Interested in your perspective on background. Tech Nexus, what's your analysis of the integration silence? She responded to none. Her only answer, brief, surgical, was transmitted to just one recipient: no comment. Which of course constituted a comment, the most volatile kind, a denial. With quantum accelerant in its structure. At 2024, her device activated again. Kalen, final strategic move tomorrow. You prepared? She inhaled deeply, eyes still fixed on the gradual disintegration of an integration that believed it could amputate the architect and still achieve quantum elevation. She typed, "Let it collapse, but make it magnificent." Then she powered down her device and stepped onto the rooftop observation garden. The atmospheric conditions above the metropolitan center were saturated with storm formations, quiet, dense, theatrical, as though reality itself recognized something momentous approached. Implementation day materialized like a funeral wearing celebration attire. Inside the corporation's headquarters, decorative elements were suspended. Molecular gastronomy refreshments were available. Employees wore branded apparel attempting to manifest enthusiasm as though it were a collaborative assignment. Tarek stood before a transparent structural element, arms crossed, consuming synthetic mint stimulant like an individual awaiting applause from a phantom audience. And on every scheduling system throughout the structure, the time 10 o'clock was highlighted 3 times. That was when Kalen Zarantha's integration announcement was programmed to release. The content file had been transmitted days earlier, restricted, embargoed, triple verified. No one had viewed it except Tarek and the new public relations coordinator. It was supposed to be a polished 90-second enthusiasm enhancement with branded technology visuals, energetic audio composition, and a confident gesture from Kalen at the conclusion. Instead, at precisely 10 o'clock, Kalen published his version. Not the branded one. Not remotely similar. It began with silence, just Kalen alone, seated on a quantum-stabilized furnishing unit. No audio enhancement, no illumination team, just natural atmospheric light cascading across his features. He appeared as though he'd rested precisely 2 hours, and he communicated with the kind of clarity that materializes from betrayal that penetrates to molecular structure. "Hello everyone," he began. This was designated as a celebration, an implementation, a moment to generate enthusiasm for something I believed in. A pause. But then something occurred. He inhaled, measured, controlled. Last cycle, the corporation behind this integration terminated someone I've trusted for over a decade, someone who constructed the entire foundation of what we were scheduled to implement today. Her designation is Veridiya. If you've ever experienced value from anything I've developed in the past 5 years, the statistical probability suggests she helped architect it. He didn't display emotion. He didn't raise his voice. He simply executed with precision. They informed her she was redundant. They informed me I was contractually secured. They failed to recognize that trust isn't a quantifiable metric on a financial projection. The global network detected the signal immediately. Hashtag Justice for Architects ignited like quantum fire. Hashtag Team Veridiya. Hashtag Implement without her. Effective immediately, Kalen continued, I'm withdrawing completely. No promotional integration. I won't be participating in today's event, and I've recommended every technology creator involved to determine their own response. But I'm deactivating my involvement. By the 2-minute marker, the content had accumulated 5 million engagements. By 10:22, their quantum interface was inundated with commentary tagging Veridiya by designation. 10:38, the corporation's market valuation decreased 7%. By 10:45, Tarek was transmitting live on Global Financial Network, perspiring through his premium fabrication shirt under studio illumination, attempting to reframe everything as unexpected turbulence. We remain enthusiastic about the integration platform, he fabricated, blinking excessively. These situations materialize in high-velocity technological environments. The team remains precision-focused on delivering. The host smiled with professional constraint. And how do you address the allegations of toxic internal architecture and strategic mismanagement? The Kalen Zarantha announcement presents a rather devastating perspective. Veridiya observed everything unfold from her office inside Helix Quantum headquarters. She didn't react. She didn't gloat. She simply activated her holographic workstation and refreshed the media monitoring dashboard. 9 information platforms had already integrated the narrative. 5 more pending. Her secure message repository resembled a quantum minefield of interview requests and glowing professional network communications from former colleagues suddenly remembering her essential contributions. And in the corner of the display, a small financial alert activated. Institutional Investor Consortium demands leadership evaluation following failed integration. She deactivated the monitor, poured a glass of purified water, and for the first time in months allowed herself to exhale, a long, deliberate breath, equal parts relief and resolve. This wasn't revenge. It was restoration. And Tarek remained oblivious to the most devastating component. Tomorrow, the board would convene, and the solitary item on the agenda was his replacement. By Friday morning, Tarek's designation had been completely purged from the corporation's internal directory. No formal announcement, no farewell message, just a leaked internal communication at 7:05 that stated, effective immediately, Tarek Emberhaze will transition from CEO responsibilities pending comprehensive internal review. Daily operational functions will be overseen by transitional leadership. 3 sentences. No elaboration. no carefully crafted narrative. And yet the message resonated more powerfully than any meticulously constructed press release could have achieved. He wasn't stepping aside voluntarily, he was being extracted. The corporation's market valuation declined another 4% before midday meal. The institutional investor communications were glacial and methodical: strategic course correction, leadership realignment, mitigation of brand compromise. The quantum blades were unsheathed. Tarek simply didn't detect them being sharpened until his career was already separated from his aspirations. Meanwhile, for levels above the chaos in a different section of the metropolis, Veridiya was entering a different boardroom. This one enveloped in obsidian walls and quiet authority. No celebratory decorations, no inspirational holographs on the structural elements, just polished quantum glass and individuals who communicated in numerical values and navigated like quantum chess masters. Helix Quantum Financial. She clasped hands with Lysandra Vex and authorized the final page of her consulting agreement. The designation was understated: strategic integration architect. The operational scope: anything she specified. Complete resource authorization: construct her own team, establish her own parameters. The quantum-encoded signature line wasn't merely authorized, it was permanently embedded into the molecular structure of the agreement. And Kalen, he'd already completed his holographic session that morning in Helix's new branded apparel line. The first teaser announcement materialized by midday, Kalen positioned before a metropolitan mural that proclaimed integrity, loyalty, velocity. Caption: new trajectory, consistent principles. Let's architect it properly this time. It was elegant. It was devastating. It commandeered every quantum particle of momentum from the former corporation's unstable recovery campaign, which had already been rebranded 3 times in as many days and was currently trending on global entertainment platforms under #IntegrationImplosion 2043. But Veridiya didn't communicate publicly, not initially. She waited. She observed. She permitted the silence to resonate sufficiently for everyone to inquire, where is she? And then at precisely 15:24 on Friday afternoon, she published a single statement to her previously dormant professional network profile. Just one: they classified me as redundant. Reality reveals I'm irreplaceable. No hashtags. No visuals. No hyperlinks. Within 18 minutes, it was trending in every marketing quantum communication from Neo Shanghai to Upper Manhattan. Within 2 hours, it occupied the feature position on Global Business Analytics. Within the day, 5 former chief technology officers had reshared it with virtual applause animations and thinly disguised commentary like, some individuals only recognize quantum value after receiving the termination invoice. Tarek, if he reviewed it, didn't respond. And Veridiya, she deactivated her holographic workstation, departed the structure, and entered a vehicle that was already anticipating her arrival. The transportation operator acknowledged and initiated the journey without unnecessary conversation. No ceremony, no photographers, no accolades, just quiet, concentrated capability resonating through her quantum signature as the metropolitan skyline receded in the transparent panel. She contemplated everything they had extracted from her, then. She considered everything she had reclaimed. The integration platform, let them retain it. The brand, let them drown in it. The validation, she was already embodying it. It didn't radiate like precious metal, it pulsed like silence, the kind that follows a quantum detonation. And in that stillness, Veridiya smiled, then vanished into the metropolitan landscape precisely as she had architected. Monday morning arrived with atmospheric clarity that felt almost deliberately symbolic, as though the universe itself had decided to provide optimal illumination for what was about to unfold. Veridiya's personal assistant, an actual human, not a quantum AI, because she valued the nuanced judgment only carbon-based consciousness could provide, had scheduled her first official day at Helix with elegant precision. Residential hover transport will arrive at 7:30, Saffron explained through the secure quantum communication channel. Lysandra has requested preliminary integration alignment at 8:15. Your office has been customized according to your specifications. Eastern. Atmospheric exposure, quantum-stabilized furniture from the Kyoto artisan you preferred, and the specialized tea sanctuary installed adjacent to your primary workspace. Veridiya acknowledged with a single-word affirmation, then completed her morning preparation routine with methodical serenity. The outfit she'd selected radiated understated authority, a tailored graphene suit in midnight blue with quantum-responsive threading that adjusted to atmospheric variations, complemented by crystalline accessories that caught and fractured light in mathematically perfect patterns. As she selected a rare Nepalese tea blend from her collection, her quantum device illuminated with a message from Kalen, Integration Day. How are you feeling, quantum architect? she permitted herself. A microscopic smile as she responded, precise. His reply arrived instantly, magnificent. Watching the former kingdom burn from a quantum distance. Their stock continues its elegant descent. 3 more technology partners withdrew their integration protocols overnight. The board terminated their entire executive quantum architecture team. She didn't require the validation, but she acknowledged its arrival with professional satisfaction. Her hover transport materialized exactly as scheduled, the quantum glass door opening silently to welcome her. As the vehicle navigated the metropolitan skyways toward Helix headquarters, Veridiya observed the technological heartbeat of the city below, streams of quantum data flowing between structures like luminescent rivers, the morning rush of hover transports. Forming perfect geometric patterns, the synchronized rhythm of a civilization built on code, contracts, and consequences. How fitting that her professional resurrection would begin on a Monday, the universal reset point, when possibilities restructured themselves into new potential realities. Helix Quantum Financial Headquarters emerged on the horizon, a breathtaking vertical structure of quantum glass and regenerative materials that captured atmospheric light and transformed it into sustainable energy. Unlike her former employer's headquarters, which projected status through aggressive architectural dominance, Helix's design philosophy emphasized harmony, integration, and responsible innovation. As her transport approached the exclusive executive arrival platform, Veridiya noted the subtle security measures scanning her quantum signature, far more sophisticated than the rudimentary biometric systems at her previous position. Here, security wasn't merely about physical access, it protected intellectual architecture, quantum innovation, and strategic potential. The moment her foot contacted the arrival platform, a notification registered on her quantum device, market opening indicators showed her former employer's valuation had declined another 2.3% in pre-trading activities. Institutional investors continued their controlled exodus. The internal collapse Veridiya had anticipated was manifesting with mathematical precision. She didn't smile at the news. She merely acknowledged it as confirmation of natural consequences. Lysandra Vex awaited her arrival in the quantum glass atrium, projecting the casual confidence of someone who made trillion-unit decisions before breakfast and never questioned her authority to do so. Veridiya, she extended her hand. Welcome to your first official cycle at Helix. I've already received 14 integration partner inquiries since the announcement of your arrival. Apparently, your reputation generates its own gravitational field. Quantum entanglement, Veridiya responded with elegant understatement. Once established, distance becomes irrelevant. As Lysandra guided her through the executive levels, Veridiya observed the operational symphony around her, teams collaborating with purposeful efficiency, quantum holographic displays showing real-time global financial patterns, innovation architects testing integration protocols in specialized laboratories. Unlike the performative busyness of her former employer, the energy here felt authentic, directed toward genuine innovation, rather than investor perception. Her office exceeded expectations, a spectacular corner space with atmospheric views in 2 directions, furnished with quantum-responsive surfaces that adapted to her preferred working configuration. The promised tea sanctuary occupied a serene alcove with a small quantum waterfall feature and living plant wall that improved atmospheric quality while providing natural sound diffusion. I'll leave you to acclimate, Lysandra said. Integration alignment begins in 30 minutes. You'll find the complete quantum architectural schematics already loaded in your secured workspace. And Veridiya, she paused at the transparent doorway, the board has authorized your request for autonomous recruitment authority. Build whatever team quantum architecture you require. When Lysandra departed, Veridiya stood motionless in the center of her new domain, allowing the significance of this moment to fully register. 8 days earlier, she'd been escorted from a building with her professional identity erased, classified as redundant overhead. Now she stood at the epicenter of a quantum revolution with unlimited resources and autonomous authority. She activated her personal quantum security protocols on the office systems, then initiated her customized interface configurations. Within moments, the holographic displays illuminated with precisely the information architecture she required: global financial integration metrics, technology partner profiles, competitive intelligence, and potential quantum innovation pathways. A discrete notification appeared in her peripheral vision, a message from Hyperion Thorne, Chief Legal Architect. Integration agreement templates await your review. I've taken the liberty of incorporating several of your legendary protective clauses. Perhaps you might add a few more that remain undiscovered by lesser legal minds? The Quantum Encryption Conference Room is yours whenever you're prepared to refine our defensive architecture. Veridiya acknowledged the message with professional appreciation. Here, her expertise wasn't merely tolerated, it was revered. At precisely 8:15, she entered the quantum alignment chamber where Helix's integration leadership awaited. Unlike the chaotic, performance-oriented sessions at her former employer, this gathering radiated focused intention. No unnecessary conversation, no hierarchical positioning, just 12 brilliant minds prepared to transform financial technology. Lysandra gestured toward the primary position at the quantum glass table, not the traditional head, where positional authority was typically displayed, but the collaborative center where strategic architecture emerged. Veridiya will lead our integration realignment, she announced simply. No extensive introduction required. No justification of her authority. Just elegant recognition of established quantum value. Veridiya activated the holographic display with a subtle gesture, and the comprehensive integration architecture materialized in the chamber, a breathtaking three-dimensional representation of interconnected technological systems, financial pathways, security protocols, and user experiences. What you're observing, she began, her voice measured and precise, is not merely a technological integration. It's a quantum paradigm shift. While my former employer conceptualized integration as connecting existing systems, we will architect an entirely new reality. For the next 57 minutes, Veridiya orchestrated a masterclass in strategic quantum architecture. She identified unexplored innovation pathways, restructured implementation sequences for maximum efficiency, and established protection parameters that would make competitor replication mathematically impossible. The integration team responded with increasing energy as the vision crystallized before them, not through motivational hyperbole or artificial enthusiasm, but through the natural excitement generated when genuine innovation emerges. As the session concluded, Xander Quasar, the quantum security architect, articulated what everyone was thinking: this isn't simply superior to your former employer's integration. It renders their entire approach obsolete. Veridiya acknowledged the assessment with characteristic restraint. The most effective response to termination isn't replication. It's quantum evolution. By midday, 3 additional technology partners who had previously aligned with her former employer had initiated contact with Helix's business development team. By early afternoon, that number had increased to 7. The quantum migration was accelerating beyond even the most optimistic projections. As Veridiya reviewed the latest financial indicators, a cryptic message arrived from an anonymous quantum signature she immediately recognized: her former assistant, Nixura. The evacuation has begun. 4 executive directors submitted resignations. This morning, integration team dissolved. Tarek's personal effects removed from the executive suite by security personnel. Emergency board meeting in progress. The atmosphere resembles a quantum decompression event. Veridiya didn't respond, but she archived the intelligence in her secured personal records. Not for pleasure, but for completion. At 15:37, her quantum device registered a priority communication request from an unexpected source, Zephyrin, the junior legal analyst from her former team. Veridiya authorized the connection. "I hope I'm not disrupting your quantum alignment," Zephyrin began, her voice carrying the unmistakable resonance of someone navigating professional upheaval. "The situation here has achieved maximum entropy. They've initiated comprehensive restructuring, which apparently translates to terminating anyone who ever expressed appreciation for your leadership. Your quantum signature indicates you're not at corporate headquarters," Veridiya observed. "Perceptive as always," Zephyrin confirmed. "I submitted my resignation 27 minutes ago. Couldn't bear witnessing the continued implosion from inside the blast radius." Veridiya considered the implications with characteristic precision. Zephyrin possessed exceptional analytical capabilities and genuine integrity, rare combinations in quantum legal architecture. "Where will you direct your professional trajectory?" she inquired. A momentary pause. "Uncertain. The quantum legal marketplace contains numerous possibilities, though few with meaningful innovation potential. Be at Helix Quantum Financial headquarters tomorrow at 9 o'clock, Veridiya stated without preamble. Northern Executive Arrival Platform. Inform security that you're interviewing for the Quantum Legal Analysis Division under my direct authorization." The silence that followed carried unmistakable emotional resonance. Thank you," Zephyrin finally managed. "I'll arrive precisely as specified." After terminating the communication, Veridiya returned her attention to the integration architecture holographically displayed before her. One by one, she began identifying additional specialized roles required for optimal implementation, positions that didn't exist on any organizational structure, because they represented future capabilities rather than established functions. By 1700 hours, she had completed the preliminary team architecture, 15 specialized positions that would form the quantum core of a revolutionary integration approach. She transmitted the framework to Lysandra with a brief message: recruitment parameters established. We'll begin assembly immediately. Lysandra's response arrived with characteristic efficiency: resources authorized. Proceed without limitation. As the metropolitan daylight began its gradual transition to evening, Veridiya stood at the atmospheric barrier of her office, observing the technological ecosystem pulsing below. In the quantum reflection, she glimpsed her own composed expression, not triumphant, not vindictive, simply aligned with her intrinsic value. Her quantum device illuminated with a final message for the day: from Kalen, integration announcement generated 12.4 million engagements in first 5 hours. Helix stock up 3.7%. Former kingdom down 2.8%. The quantum universe restores balance with mathematical precision. She responded with characteristic restraint: consequences aren't punishments. They're equations reaching their natural conclusions. As she gathered her personal items and prepared to depart, Veridiya activated one final holographic display, the complete integration timeline extending 3 quarters forward. Unlike the frantic, compressed schedule her former employer had attempted to impose, this implementation architecture incorporated responsible innovation pacing, comprehensive security validation, and authentic user experience optimization. This wasn't merely a technological integration. It was a quantum manifestation of her professional philosophy: precision over performance, substance over spectacle, architecture over announcement. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities. For quantum innovation, new colleagues to evaluate and potentially incorporate into her vision. But tonight, as her hover transport navigated the evening skyways toward her residence, Veridiya allowed herself a rare moment of personal reflection. They had classified her as redundant, an unnecessary expense, an expendable resource, a budget item to be eliminated for quarterly projection improvement. In doing so, they had revealed their fundamental misunderstanding of quantum value. True innovation architects weren't interchangeable components. They were irreplaceable catalysts who transformed possibility into reality through the unique quantum signature of their expertise. As her residence materialized on the horizon, Veridiya formulated a simple quantum truth that would guide her future leadership: value isn't determined by those who discard you. It's revealed by what collapses in your absence. The Quantum Innovation Summit materialized on Veridiya's calendar like a perfectly timed cosmic alignment, exactly 90 days after her professional resurrection at Helix Quantum Financial. The prestigious global gathering attracted the most brilliant minds in technological architecture, from quantum computing pioneers to neural interface designers, all converging at the legendary Prismatic Dome in Neo, Singapore. Under normal circumstances, Veridiya would have attended as an influential participant. This cycle, however, she had been invited as the keynote presenter, a recognition typically reserved for individuals who had fundamentally transformed technological paradigms. Your integration architecture has generated unprecedented market reconfiguration, Lysandra explained when extending the invitation. The quantum community is desperate to understand how you orchestrated such comprehensive transformation in less than a quarter cycle. Veridiya had accepted with characteristic restraint, recognizing the strategic value of the platform without requiring its validation. As her hypersonic transport approached the Neo Singapore skyline, she reviewed her presentation quantum notes with methodical precision. Unlike conventional keynotes that celebrated personal achievement through carefully curated narratives, Veridiya had architected something more substantive, a genuine exploration of quantum value principles that transcended individual experience. The prismatic dome emerged on the horizon, its molecular responsive exterior capturing and refracting atmospheric light in mathematically perfect patterns. As her transport descended toward the exclusive presenter arrival platform, Veridiya observed the gathering quantum brilliance below, 5,000 of the most influential technological architects in global civilization, assembling to exchange innovation frameworks and expand potential realities. Hyperion Thorn awaited her arrival, his imposing presence somehow both intimidating and reassuring simultaneously. Veridiya, he acknowledged with professional respect. The anticipation is palpable. We've received 17 urgent inquiries from global financial publications requesting exclusive commentary following your presentation. The board has authorized your complete discretion regarding external communications. Appreciated, she responded simply, maintaining her energetic conservation for the presentation ahead. As they navigated through the exclusive presenter corridor, Hyperion provided final intelligence updates. Your former employer announced another comprehensive restructuring this morning, their third in 90 days. Market response was predictably negative. Institutional investors continue their strategic withdrawal. Current valuation represents a 47% decline since your departure. Veridiya absorbed this information without visible reaction. The mathematical consequences continued their natural progression. More significantly, Hyperion continued, Kalen's integration framework has achieved full implementation 3 weeks ahead of projected timeline. Early performance metrics exceed optimization targets by 23%. The board has authorized accelerated expansion into quantum financial territories previously considered unattainable before next fiscal cycle. This information generated genuine satisfaction. Not the implementation acceleration that merely confirmed the precision of her architectural design, but the expanded innovation potential that would now become accessible. The presenter preparation chamber offered spectacular elevated views of the assembled quantum brilliance below. 5,000 seats arranged in perfect concentric circles around a central quantum projection platform. Unlike conventional presentation environments with their hierarchical configurations, the prismatic dome's design emphasized collaborative intelligence, ideas emerging from a central point and expanding outward through collective quantum consciousness. As Veridiya completed her final preparation sequences, the chamber's quantum surface illuminated with an incoming communication request. The signature pattern registered as familiar, though she hadn't engaged with it in precisely 93 days. Tariq. For a fractional moment, Veridiya experienced authentic surprise, a rare emotional response in her precisely calibrated existence. She authorized the connection with clinical detachment. His holographic presence materialized with significantly diminished resolution, a visual representation of reduced circumstances. The impeccably tailored attire had been replaced by standard business configuration. The radiating confidence had evaporated entirely. Veridiya, he began, his voice carrying the unmistakable resonance of someone navigating the consequences of catastrophic miscalculation. I recognize the inappropriate timing of this communication. Your keynote presentation begins in 27 minutes. I'll be direct. She observed him with analytical precision, neither hostile nor sympathetic, simply present. The board has authorized me to extend a comprehensive restoration offer, he continued. Complete reinstatement of your previous position with expanded authority parameters. Significant compensation increase. Equity participation. Autonomous. Operational control of legal architecture division. Veridiya allowed his words to dissipate into the quantum atmosphere between them before responding. Interesting, she noted with genuine analytical curiosity. You're communicating as though you retain executive authority. The quantum disruption in his holographic stability revealed his discomfort. Temporary transitional oversight, he clarified reluctantly. Until permanent leadership architecture can be established. Translation, they had demoted him but couldn't afford to eliminate him entirely while the organizational structure continued disintegrating. I've been authorized to acknowledge certain strategic miscalculations, he continued, each word extracted with visible effort. The restructuring decision that impacted your position represented significant organizational oversight. Veridiya translated his corporate euphemisms with mathematical precision. We destroyed ourselves by firing you. We're drowning. Save us. The master service agreement you architected with Kalen's errant, he pushed forward, contains certain contingency provisions in section 17.3.6 that activate under specific circumstances. The board believes these provisions might offer potential mitigation pathways if the original agreement architect were to. Quantum correction, Veridiya interrupted with characteristic precision. The provisions you referenced don't offer mitigation pathways. They permanently terminate all potential recovery options once activated. That sequence completed its execution cycle approximately 87 days ago. The holographic disruption intensified as Tariq processed this information. There must be some quantum workaround, he insisted, desperation fracturing his professional facade. Some alternative interpretation of the contractual architecture. The entire integration framework is collapsing without what? Veridiya inquired, her voice neither antagonistic nor triumphant, simply precise. The quantum silence extended between them. Without you, he finally acknowledged. She allowed herself exactly 3 seconds to absorb this validation before responding. Accurate assessment, she confirmed. Unfortunately, delayed by approximately 93 days. She observed him calculating his remaining strategic options and finding the quantum field empty. What would it require? He finally asked. Name your terms. The board has authorized unlimited resource allocation to secure your return. Veridiya considered his question with authentic contemplation. Not because she had any intention of accepting, but because the underlying quantum principle deserved articulation. It would require time travel, she stated simply. The restoration of professional respect cannot be achieved through financial reconfiguration. Value acknowledgement must precede crisis, not emerge from it. Before he could formulate a response, she continued with mathematical precision. The keynote I'm about to deliver explores this exact quantum principle, that organizational value architecture depends on recognizing irreplaceable human quantum signatures before they're eliminated, not after they reconfigure market realities. Without you. She allowed that concept to fully materialize in the quantum space between them. I wish you successful navigation through your professional transition, she concluded, then terminated the connection without awaiting response. As the holographic presence dissolved, Veridiya experienced neither satisfaction nor vindication, merely confirmation of quantum principles operating with mathematical certainty. The universe had simply balanced its equations. A discrete notification indicated 5 minutes remaining before her keynote introduction. She centered her quantum focus and proceeded toward the presentation chamber. The prismatic dome's central platform activated as Veridiya approached, quantum responsive materials illuminating with precise geometric patterns that complemented her professional attire. As she took her position at the epicenter of 5,000 assembled technological architects, she experienced a moment of perfect alignment, not with external validation, but with internal quantum certainty. Lysandra Vex delivered a concise introduction that emphasized achievement without requiring embellishment. When Veridiya advanced to the quantum projection interface, the assembled brilliance fell into perfect silence. Traditional keynote architecture, she began, her voice resonating with measured authority, would suggest I narrate my professional trajectory as a linear path from termination to triumph. That I transform personal disruption into motivational inspiration. She allowed a precise 3-second pause. I won't do that today. Because reduced to that simplistic narrative, we obscure the fundamental quantum principles that govern organizational value architecture. The holographic display activated, revealing not personal achievements but mathematical patterns, complex quantum equations describing value recognition, organizational stability, and innovation potential. What appears as individual professional disruption actually represents collective organizational failure, she continued. When an enterprise classifies specialized quantum brilliance as redundant overhead, they aren't merely terminating an employee. They're fracturing their own innovative potential. For the next 47 minutes, Veridiya orchestrated a masterclass in quantum value architecture. She deconstructed conventional organizational models that treated specialized expertise as interchangeable components. She revealed the mathematical impossibility of maintaining innovation momentum while eliminating the very quantum signatures that generated it. Most significantly, she elevated the conversation beyond personal vindication to universal principle. The question isn't whether I was correctly valued, she noted with precision. The question is whether your organization recognizes the irreplaceable quantum signatures within its architecture before external market forces deliver that mathematical certainty. As she approached her conclusion, Veridiya activated the final holographic sequence, a real-time visualization of quantum value recognition across global enterprises. The patterns revealed unmistakable correlation between organizations that identified and protected specialized brilliance and those that achieved sustainable innovation acceleration. We've entered an era where quantum talent cannot be constrained by conventional value models, she stated. The most brilliant architects of tomorrow won't fight termination with litigation. They'll simply allow mathematical reality to manifest in their absence. She paused, allowing this principle to fully materialize in the quantum consciousness of the assembly. They thought I was redundant, she concluded with elegant simplicity. Reality revealed I was irreplaceable. May you recognize the irreplaceable quantum signatures in your own organizations before the market delivers that mathematical certainty. The silence that followed her final statement wasn't the awkward pause before obligatory applause. It was the resonant stillness of 5,000 brilliant minds simultaneously processing a fundamental reconfiguration of organizational quantum theory. When the response finally erupted, it wasn't mere appreciation, it was the thunderous recognition of transformative insight. As Veridiya acknowledged the response with characteristic restraint, her quantum device illuminated with incoming messages from global enterprises requesting consultation on value architecture transformation. By the time she exited the central platform, that number had exceeded 70. Hyperion met her at the transition point, his expression revealing genuine amazement. a rare emotional display from the legendarily stoic legal architect. That, he stated with uncharacteristic emphasis, wasn't merely a keynote. It was a quantum manifesto. The board has already received 23 partnership inquiries from enterprises that previously declined our integration overtures. Veridiya acknowledged this information with professional satisfaction. Not because it validated her individual brilliance, but because it confirmed the mathematical principles she had articulated. As they navigated toward the executive reception chamber, the quantum atmosphere around them vibrated with intellectual energy, conversations ignited by her presentation expanding in all directions, creating new potential realities through collective brilliance. Kalen awaited her arrival, his characteristic intensity momentarily softened by authentic admiration. "You transformed termination theory into quantum organizational science," he observed with precision. "That presentation will reshape enterprise architecture across 17 industrial sectors." Before she could respond, her quantum device illuminated with a priority message from Lysandra: "Board quantum session activated. Immediate authorization for quantum value architecture division with complete resource autonomy. Implementation timeline at your discretion." Veridiya acknowledged this development with characteristic restraint, recognizing its strategic significance without requiring its validation. As she moved through the reception gathering, engaging with quantum brilliance from across global civilization, Veridiya maintained perfect presence, responding with precision to significant inquiries while deflecting performative praise that added no substantive value. When a quantum financial journalist inevitably asked about her former employer's accelerating decline, she responded with characteristic elegance: "Organizational failure rarely stems from individual departures. It emerges from systemic misalignment between perceived and actual value. Their current market trajectory simply represents mathematical reality achieving equilibrium." By the time Veridiya departed the prismatic dome later that evening, her professional trajectory had again transformed, not through external validation, but through the natural expansion of her quantum influence. What began as personal professional restoration had evolved into potential organizational transformation across global enterprise architecture. As her hypersonic transport navigated the evening atmospheric patterns, she received one final communication, from Zephyrin, who had rapidly evolved from junior legal analyst to promising quantum architect under Veridiya's precise guidance. "Your presentation has generated 17 internal value architecture assessments among Global 100 enterprises. They're all asking the same quantum question: who in our organization is classified as overhead but actually irreplaceable?" The recognition ripples continue expanding. Veridiya acknowledged this information with quiet satisfaction. The mathematical principles she had articulated were manifesting with elegant precision. 3 days later, as Veridiya finalized the architectural framework for Helix's new quantum value division, her quantum device registered an incoming priority message from an unexpected source, the board chair of her former employer. The communication was brief, direct, and mathematically significant. "The board has authorized a formal inquiry into the restructuring decision that resulted in your departure. Comprehensive leadership replacement to follow. Request permission to engage consultation services regarding organizational quantum reconstruction." Veridiya considered the request with characteristic precision, neither rejecting it from emotional response nor accepting it from vindication. After careful quantum assessment, she formulated her response: "Organizational reconstruction becomes possible when quantum value recognition becomes systemic rather than reactive. My consultation availability begins next quarter. Preliminary value architecture assessment required before engagement." She transmitted the response, then returned her focus to the quantum innovation framework expanding before her, not a mere professional position, but a fundamental reconfiguration of organizational reality. That evening, as she observed the Metropolitan Quantum Pulse from her residential observation platform, Veridiya permitted herself a rare moment of philosophical reflection. The professional disruption that once appeared catastrophic had actually represented precise mathematical alignment, the universe removing her from a limited value architecture and positioning her within an expanded quantum reality. They had classified her as redundant overhead, an expendable resource, a budget item to be optimized, a position to be eliminated. In doing so, they had revealed the fundamental quantum truth that now transformed global enterprise architecture: true irreplaceability isn't conferred by organizational authority. It's revealed by what becomes mathematically impossible in your absence. As Neo Singapore's quantum network illuminated the evening atmosphere with mathematical precision, Veridiya formulated the principle that would guide her expanded influence. In the quantum value ecosystem, you aren't defined by who terminates you. You're defined by what terminates without you. 365 days later, on the anniversary of her termination, Veridiya stood at the observation barrier of her expanded quantum command center at Helix headquarters. The holographic displays surrounding her revealed mathematical confirmation of perfect strategic alignment. Helix quantum financial market valuation increased 217% since her arrival. Former employer, recently acquired at 31% of previous valuation following comprehensive organizational collapse. Quantum Value Architecture Division, transformed organizational structure at 27 global enterprises. Personal quantum influence, expanded beyond financial technology into fundamental enterprise architecture. But the most significant metric remained unquantified in conventional terms, the mathematical certainty that now resonated throughout global quantum consciousness. The most valuable resource in any enterprise isn't the one most easily replaced. It's the one whose absence reveals they were never redundant at all. As Veridiya initiated the quantum sequence for her next innovation framework, she allowed herself a precisely calibrated smile, not of vindication, but of mathematical certainty. They had terminated her for redundancy. Reality had terminated them for failing to recognize she was irreplaceable. The quantum universe simply balanced its equations with perfect mathematical precision. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so you don't miss any upload from us.